Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's developer coaching webinar. My name is Tara Van Cleef, and I am part of the developer relations organization here at Oracle. And today we are excited to show you via live demos how OCI's AI and integration capabilities combine to create smart, adaptive, and automated enterprise workflows. So if you have any questions for us, we have enabled the Q&A section of the Zoom, and we will answer throughout the hour as well as leave some time at the end for any remaining open questions. So today's webinar will be presented by Nathan Angstadt, Oracle Integration Senior Director of Product Management. So without further ado, Nathan, over to you to take it away.
Yeah, thanks very much, Tara, and thanks for everybody who's joined. Thanks for spending this time with us. Yeah, so look, so let's start by today we what we want to cover is a really practical and quite frankly a very timely topic, and that is how do we give AI agents secure access to enterprise apps and data while at the same time preserving IT governance. And so we'll cover that throughout the session today. Of course, before we begin, the standard safe harbor note applies. Any forward-looking statements are directional and not really do not imply any type of delivery commitment. So when we talk with many of our customers, we often hear three questions pretty much right off the bat. Are agents the right option for my use case? What agent frameworks should we be using? And how do we ground these agents in our enterprise data while at the same time preserving IT governance? So AI agents introduce new ways to automate business work, and that's especially the case where business processes are less predictable. AI agents can reason and they can adapt, but successful modern automation initiatives still depend on three fundamentals. That is, connect apps and data to ground decisions, automate processes to turn intent into action, and apply AI within an enterprise governance model so outcomes remain predictable. Building on those fundamentals, Oracle integration helps your AI agent initiatives be successful in three practical ways. First, it makes agents smarter with data by grounding them in governed enterprise context. Second, it makes agents effective with action by turning intent into execution through a unified portfolio of automation tools. And lastly, it makes agents reliable with predictability by combining deterministic orchestration with policy enforcement, approvals, and exception handling to deliver repeatable outcomes. So in short, Oracle integration provides a consistent way to connect agents to enterprise context, execute actions, and apply controls for predictable outcomes. So the way we do this is twofold. One, Oracle integration provides broad connectivity using our pre-built adapters to ground agents in enterprise contexts across, of course, Oracle applications, third-party SaaS applications, file and document systems, databases, internet services, messaging and event systems, and B2B as well as other industry protocols. Second, Oracle integration provides a comprehensive portfolio of automation capabilities to turn the agent intent into action. So it starts with in our integration, where we can orchestrate APIs, robots, rule-based decisions, discrete AI services. We've recently added a whole new set of agentic AI capabilities to expose enterprise actions and data as tools, where AI agents can invoke those tools from within any MCP compliant ecosystem. We have RPA, where we can execute tasks where the UI interaction is still required. It's, for example, where we don't really have access to APIs. We have human oversight to manage approvals and exception handling for our agents. We have rule-based decisions to provide predictable decision logic, and we have B2B capabilities to allow you to extend beyond your enterprise and exchange transactions with your trading partners. Before we jump into the product, let's align on what we mean by an AI agent. So agents are typically built from three main components. First, there's the LLM. This is the same type of LLM that's used in ChatGPT, but here we're using it to interpret context and to reason. Reason over what? Reason over goals and objectives. These are the business objectives and the outcomes that the agent is working towards. And lastly, is are the tools, right? And this is the data and the actions that the agent can use. So LLMs may understand general language and knowledge, but they have no native access to your enterprise systems. Tools provide that governed access to your apps and data. But how do these agents access those tools? Fortunately, there's an emerging standard called the Model Context Protocol. You'll know it as MCP. MCP defines a consistent way for agents to discover and invoke tools. And what this means is that any MCP compliant agent can discover and invoke these tools. And within Oracle, we have several key AI agent initiatives to meet your specific needs. We have, of course, the Fusion AI Agent Studio. We have AI Data Platform. We have the Database Agent Factory. We have OCI within the OCI team. We have the GenAI agents. And we can even build agents directly within OIC. And of course, there's many third-party agent frameworks like the entire LangChain community of projects. All of these agent platforms provide native tools, such as business objects within the Fusion AI Studio or SQL tools within the AI Data Platform. Oracle integration complements these native tools in three ways. First, it extends access to apps and data outside of the agent's native ecosystem. For example, a Fusion agent may need to also access data in Salesforce or Workday or SAP. Second, it provides deterministic orchestration for complex multi-step business operations that require predictable outcomes. For example, creating an order may require orchestrating multiple low-level APIs. And it enables tools to be built with broader automation capabilities, like we provide, such as RPA, human oversight, and rule-based decisions. But maybe most importantly, Oracle integration centralizes governance. It gives you a consistent way to manage the access policies, the credentials, auditing, and all of your operational controls across multiple agent ecosystems. So this fragmentation is now reduced. You don't have to end up re-implementing your security and your oversight separately for each one of these agent frameworks as your adoption scales. And so with that, what I'd like to do is actually take you on a quick tour of Oracle integration and how we're supporting your agentic AI capability or your AI initiatives. So we start here within Oracle integration. This is our home page, and we'll dive into what we call projects. So projects are really a construct that allows us to unify the lifecycle management and the observability across our entire portfolio of automation tools. So we have, for instance, all of the integration components. We have our new AI agent components. This is where we'd also surface our RPA robots. We've repurposed our process automation capabilities into project and rebranded it as human in the loop to provide oversight to agents. We have our rule-based decisions, our healthcare capabilities, B2B, and knowledge base, which is effectively a RAG service that we provide to you out of the box. Let's say we have a use case where we have a shared service center that's receiving paper invoice documents, or maybe they're coming in as attachments in email. And that shared service center is taking those documents, getting them into an electronic format, and putting them into a folder. And we'd like to automate processing those invoice documents. So this is a fairly simple use case, but hopefully it's understandable enough and it's constrained enough so that we can understand some of the concepts that are going on as we build out this automation. So even before AI agents, if we wanted to solve this kind of problem, we probably would have gone ahead and created a number of utility integrations. So maybe an integration to create the invoice, maybe some integrations to classify the documents and extract data from the documents, and maybe some other integrations to work with the files in that folder. And so we've done the exact same thing here. Let's drill into one of these integrations. We'll look at this classified documents integration. This is quite simple here. What I want to highlight here is that this is just an orchestration of activities across all of these various connectivity that we provide. And one of the things that we've also added within Oracle integration is we've embedded directly within our palette all of the OCI AI services, so such as document understanding, generative AI, language and speech and vision and the RAG infrastructure, and so on and so forth. And what this means is it's very easy for you to go ahead and embed intelligence into any of your orchestration. So orchestrating APIs, orchestrating robots, orchestrating those discrete AI services. In this example here, we're using the document understanding AI activity, and we simply selected the document classification operation. So this integration will effectively read a document from the file folder and then classify the document to be, an invoice or a resume or a receipt or what have you. So we'll activate this integration to get it going. Now, again, before the agentic AI era, what we would have probably done is we probably would have created another flow. So it could have been a BPM process. It could be another integration orchestration. And we would have orchestrated all of these kind of utility operations into that flow. And that's still a very relevant way to approach automating your business. What that gives you is it gives you a very deterministic way to solve this particular problem. But what if we wanted to use AI agents and actually have a more adaptable, a more flexible way to kind of handle this particular business process? And in that case, we would end up creating leveraging AI agents to solve that problem. Within Oracle integration, we have actually added a whole new set of agentic AI capabilities. We'll come back to these, the agent patterns and the agents and the prompt templates in a second. First, I want to call your attention to the tools over here. So we've added a first-class capability, a first-class component called tools, which really represents the abstraction that we're going to give to these large language models, give to these agents for them to reason over how can they access the enterprise apps and data. And to create a tool, I could simply come in here and say, I want to create a tool. I want to base this off of an integration. And I can select the integration that I want to use as the implementation for this particular tool. So I can select that. We've automatically copied the description of that integration over, but if I wanted to, I could change that as well. And we now have the structure of the tool. Again, this is nothing more than metadata that we're going to send to the agent for it to reason over if it wants to be able to use this tool, and if so, how it can do that. So for instance, in this example, we're saying that this tool classifies a document type like an invoice or a receipt. And in this particular case, we just have one property to invoke this tool, and we could say this is the document file name. And so with this, we've given we can give the LLM all the information it needs to know whether or not it would like to use this tool, and if so, how to actually interact with it. Now, again, this is great. We have these tools. These tools are backed by integrations. How do we expose those to the agentic world? Well, we do that using MCP. And we've made it very simple to go ahead and create an MCP server by simply selecting within the project, simply selecting this option to say enable as MCP server. And now this entire project is now enabled as an MCP server, exposing to any MCP compliant agent framework all of these tools. So let's take a look at what that might look like. If we come over to an agentic framework, something like Langflow, this is basically just a low-code AI framework here. And we've already defined an agent here. We've connected it to an LLM. We've given it some objectives. You create invoice transactions. You should first validate the document as an invoice, and so on and so forth. We provided all of the business objectives that we want it to achieve. In this case here, we're just going to use a simple chat input and output. So we have the LLM, we have the objectives, now we need tools. And again, to create the tools or to give this agent access to tools, we can use within Langflow their MCP tool client. And for that, I can simply come over here and I can say, I want to add an MCP server. There we go. So we will add the endpoint and the credentials to this MCP server, and we can see that it's gone out to that project, to that Oracle integration project, and it's discovered all of these tools that we provided. So we can now go ahead and connect this MCP client to the agent, and we can now run this agent, and we can say, please process the documents in my invoices folder. And so what's going to happen is this agent that we created here in Langflow is going to reason over the objectives that we gave it. It's going to reason over the tools that we provided, and it's now going to go ahead and work through the problem and execute those various tools. And in fact, if we come back to Oracle integration and we go into our observe, we can see all of these integrations now being executed on behalf of that agent. So the agent is requesting access to the tool. That request comes back to the Oracle integration MCP server. MCP server identifies that tool, understands that that tool is implemented by this integration. It executes that integration, and then it sends the results back to the large language model. And as you can see, the agent has now finished processing that. It actually processed 3 different documents. It identified that 2 of those were actually invoices, and 1 of those was a receipt. And based on our instructions, based on our objectives, we told it just to simply ignore that. We could do the similar thing here in AI Studio. So in AI Studio, where the Fusion Apps team is actually building a huge library of pre-built agents to help assist your end users in their use of the applications, we can do the similar thing. So in this case here, um, we've actually defined our MCP client over here, where we have it as an MCP client. We've again given it access to the endpoint and the credentials, and it's now, of course, gone out and discovered those tools. And then we can come over into our agent teams, and we've already defined an agent team called OAC1 Payables. We can come into this agent team and we can build a simple agent. So we'll say this is called invoice processing agent, and the description is invoice processing. And we can give it its roles and objectives. So you create invoice transactions. We can give it its prompt. So these are the objectives that we're giving to the agent. Here we're going to define the LLM that we want to use. And the last thing that we need, of course, are the tools. And so we can simply come over here. We can search for the MCP client that we just saw a second ago, and we can now add that as a tool. And now we could go ahead and also run this agent, and it will do exactly the same thing as what we just saw within Langflow. So this is a summary of how fundamentally Oracle integration is allowing you to expose your existing integrations, to be able to very easily create new integrations, leverage our portfolio of automation tools, and then leverage all of that automation capability for your agentic initiatives, regardless of exactly where those agents are being built. And again, one of the chief values is that we're centralizing the governance so that regardless of where those agents are being built, you have control over how that access is secured and how it's governed generally. Let's come back to Oracle integration, and let's do one more thing. Let's take a quick look at how we are actually enabling agents directly within OIC. So we'll come to another project here, and you can see that we don't really have any integrations here. We'll come to our tools. I've actually created these tools based off of the integrations in that previous project. And so what this allows you to do, what projects also allow you to do, is it allows you to kind of govern access to all of these components. So you may have one project where the IT team is actually building integrations. They want to maintain control over the source of those integrations, but they can share those out maybe to an AI agent center of excellence team who can simply use those. In this case here, I went ahead and created these tools based off of those integrations that were shared with me. I can also create another integration here. So I'm going to create this based off a recipe. So recipes are really pre-built tools that we're releasing. And I'll create this tool. And this is going to be a tool that allows me to get some human oversight into this business process. So what's happening now is that we're installing all of the necessary components. So we created the tool with a number of different parameters. I'm going to put my name down here as the approver, just since this is a demo, but of course this could be done in a variety of different ways, and it could be done based off of assignments either that you make or assignments that the agent would make. So I now have my tool. If we actually go into our human in the loop components here, what we'll see is that we have two new components. One, we have this new workflow. And this is again leveraging our current process automation capabilities. So a very simple workflow that's going to make a request for approval. And then we have a very simple form where the agent can send us a request and we can send back a response. What's also happened when we installed that tool is that we also installed an integration, and this integration is simply going to invoke the human in the loop process flow itself. And of course, we created that as a tool. So now we have another tool. If we go back to Langflow and we take a look at this agent component here, what we'll see is that these agents are really built from code. And what this code is doing is it's orchestrating all of the behavioral aspects of the agent. When do we call the LLM? How and when do we send objectives to the LLM? How do we invoke tools and send the responses back to the LLM, and so on and so forth. Within Oracle integration, what we've done is we've actually added this concept called agent patterns. So I can create an agent patterns here. So we'll call this financial agent pattern. And from that, we can choose from, again, some recipes of different agent patterns. So I'm going to use this basic React pattern here. And what this is going to do is it's going to install the underlying components from our recipe library. And it's now going to allow me to define some guidelines for this pattern. And so I will go ahead and simply say that based on this particular pattern, I want it to follow all the guides. So this is where you're actually providing all of the compliance guidelines for your agent. So we can save that. And what we'll see is that not only did we create this pattern here, but we also created another integration. And this integration now, instead of using code, we're using integration now to govern that orchestration, to govern the behavior of that agent. And so, of course, we'll provide patterns out of the box for you to use. You can build your own patterns. We'll, of course, over time, release additional patterns as new research is done on agents. And because these are integrations, it means you can also come into any of these and you can modify them and bake your own kind of hard-coded guardrails into these integrations, providing the type of compliance that your business needs for their agents. So now that we have the tools, we have an agent pattern, we can come along and we can create an agent. We'll call this invoice processing agent. We'll pick the thinking pattern. That's going to be the financial agent pattern. And this will now create our agent. And so now we have the exact same kind of objectives that we used before. We'll say this is the role, these are the objectives. We'll add some tools here. So we'll add all of those tools. Now, because we have this human in the loop, let's go ahead and modify these guidelines and say you must get approval for any invoice over, let's say, $15,000, right? So just by simply adding a new tool and adding some new objectives, we fundamentally have changed how this business process is going to operate. So we have our agent, we're going to activate our agent, and once this is activated, we can now test this. So let's run this agent, and here we'll say, please, yep, process the documents in the invoices folder, and we'll kick it off. And of course, this would do exactly as we would have seen in AI Studio, exactly as we would have seen in Langflow. We're creating the exact same agent, but we're doing this across different agentic platforms. And we can see that this agent now is running. This is actually, again, remember, this is running based off of that React integration pattern that we created. So this is how all of this behavior is governed. And if you wanted to put your own guardrails, you would simply go ahead and modify that integration to bake those guardrails into what you're doing. And so this is going to run, and it's going to start classifying the documents. It's going to extract the data. And eventually what it's going to do is it's going to see that one of these invoices is indeed greater than $15,000. And we can see that it's now called to say, hey, because of that, I need to go ahead and invoke this human in the loop task. And so we can come to our observe. We'll come into our human into the loop observability page. We can see that indeed we have a task that's in progress. We can open up our workspace. We can see the task is assigned to us. And we can see that the agent has said, please review this particular invoice. It exceeds a threshold. And I can simply, through natural language, just say approved. And I can now save this and submit the response. And so now I've completed my task. Again, if we come back to Oracle integration and we come back to our agent observability, we will see that this agent has resumed. It's picked up the fact that we got the approval, and it's now going out and calling the create invoice with this approved invoice. And what we'll see is at the end here, it'll have created the invoice and come back with that nice summary for us. So that's all I wanted to show you today, just a kind of a brief overview of what we are doing within the OIC platform to make it very easy for you to go ahead and expose any agentic AI platform to your enterprise apps and data in a very governed manner. Also, where you have maybe more departmental agents and things like this, the ability to go ahead and create those agents, if you choose, directly within OIC. And so with that, Tara, I think I'll turn it back to you and we'll see if we have any questions.
We will actually bring in Code Innovate team now, and they're going to talk a little bit about co-developing with us.
Perfect. Thank you. So thank you so much, Nathan, for that overview of what's coming. It looks very exciting. So hello, everyone. My name is Aditya. I'm part of the Code Innovate team here at Oracle. Just wanted to give you a brief overview of what this program is and how we can help partner with you. So before we get into what it is, a little bit of an analogy. So if you've ever been to Legoland, there's a class called a Master Builder class, where you get disassembled pieces of Legos in a clear plastic bag. And as you can see, there's no instructions, but you're supposed to make something beautiful out of it at the end. And that's where this gentleman in the green t-shirt, the master builder, comes into the picture. He helps you and explains which Lego piece goes on top of which, and then helps you create these beautiful penguins at the end. So in a nutshell, that's what the Code Innovate program is. It's a 5 half-day online event to jumpstart your cloud development, right? So we aim to give you hands-on introduction to our cloud services. For these 5 half days, our engineers or specialists on our side work with your team to help out and we strive to build an MVP, a minimum viable product or a prototype. What this does is it facilitates rapid knowledge sharing because you have a specialist with you for 4 hours each day. You can ask questions, share ideas, talk about best practices and all sorts of things, right? And the main aim here is to leverage your use cases, right? So you bring us your business problems, and then we'll help you scope it down into something that's achievable within this week, so we can create a prototype at the end. And at the end, on the last day, what we do is we do a readout, right? So together, your team delivers a sort of a readout presentation. It's a three-slide deck, which we help build. But we encourage you to invite from your side and from our side also, people will join, and then we can do a readout at the end to summarize what we did throughout the week. At a high level, how it works is the main aim here is to learn while building. So as I said, at the center of this is to bring your use cases, so your business problems. We will staff the right engineers based on your problems. And then at the end, we strive to build a first pass prototype, which then you can take into production. And if you like this idea, if you want to build with us together, if you want to learn, just reach out to us. This is our email. Actually, integration use cases are our most common use cases. We work with a lot of customers on these. Currently, the runway is a little bit more. I think we have a lot in the pipeline. So the first we could do is in February, but reach out to us to secure your spot. Thank you.
All right, so if you enjoyed today's session, we do run this as a series, so there will be upcoming developer coaching webinars, and you can find all of those at our oracle.com/developer/events page. And that same page also includes a link to our YouTube playlist that has all of our previous event replays as well. So lots of great content to check out there. And we always are hoping to improve our events and make sure that we're getting you the most relevant content that you find interesting. So please do share any feedback that you had for us on today's session or on any topics that you'd like to see from us in our future events. And so to do that, we have this link here, or there will be a quick survey that pops up as you exit the Zoom today. So we'd love to hear from you and let us know your thoughts. Thank you so much, and we hope to see you at the next one.